Yeah,
Uh,
Darshan, you gotta be next to SOS too, man. You and Tiffany haven't got. You're the only two people on this
Yes.
stage that haven't gotten to the SOS.
well, I gotta go to SOS. That's remember I
Yes.
told you I don't go to.
I
Yours is the only one I need. I really need to make it to.
Yes,
100%.
yeah.
agreed.
I
Same
tried
with
this
Tiffany.
year. It just didn't work out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Tucson to
really
Atlanta
tried.
is kind of hard. That's I'll admit it's kind of a tough.
But we had
tough
Robert
flight.
and Patrick there. It was fun.
Pat
Yeah.
Stone, man, shoot,
Yeah.
legendary.
Did you see
So-
his shoes? Pat Stone's shoes were the shit.
better than Brad? I didn't see Pat.
Yeah, they were better than Brad's. Even Ivory was like, "What?" Like we just kept looking at his shoes.
Brad
the
had
whole
the
time.
Jordan 11s, I think, or the 12s.
Well, see, the thing is, Jordans are great, but in Texas, Patrick's shoes were pretty dope for Texans.
What were you wearing, Patrick? What kind of
alligator cowboy boots or what?
Oh,
I was gonna say, can you flash them on the screen, Patrick? Is it-
Please.
Patrick a flash? Really?
Well, thanks, Darshan. I gotta watch my P's and Q's. Every word is scrutinized. We gotta be really careful. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, congrats, Robert. I already put it on LinkedIn, but
Thank you,
big
Ashley.
congratulations. Awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Everybody go connect. Tiffany, do you have a LinkedIn?
Mhm.
Huh. All right.
Of course, I have a LinkedIn.
She's
mean,
too
I've
busy
known
though,
you, like-
Dan. She's very busy.
I know. I realize this. But we thank you for coming on, Tiffany.
No
and
problem.
Tiffany, one question though for the EMR, or what you were talking about, Creo.
Resource.
How are y'all integrating modules where people from like out of country can do QC or data oversight? That's something that I've heard of, and I'm like, wow, are sponsors going for that, or is that something they're gonna like
You got to be careful.
buy in on? 'Cause,
Privacy issue.
pennies on the dollar on for that.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
we have data that we're making up, so none of this is real. Like site actual subject data. It just mocks it. So, but as far as accessibility, I don't know, Dan and Chris. Like
Entire
it's
world.
possible.
The entire world.
worldwide, even outside of the world.
Yeah.
If we
Long as
Mars.
they
Yeah, I
have
think we
internet
have one
access.
Martian.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I had another site ask me this exact question. Can I outsource it to India or Philippines?
Pakistan. I think Pakistan's the big one.
Shout out to Pakistan.
Asia in general. Yeah. The problem is you have global privacy laws that kick in, and you have to be very, very careful about how you do it. And you can't just get like a waiver kind of thing. It becomes really complicated. India has its own privacy regimen. Europe has its own privacy regimen. And Brazil, they all do. And you
And
got
California, its own too.
Well,
Is it
I
like
didn't-
the data protection laws or something?
GDPR
like
is
that?
Europe, but GDPR Lite, California has its own GDPR Lite called CCPA and
Yeah,
CPR.
GDPR.
There's also
okay.
BDPA. Like I'd say about 50 to 60% of states have their own individual versions, but I wasn't even getting into the individual state ones because you're talking about international, and you've got to worry about not just privacy but cybersecurity issues. So what if someone hacks in? And you'd say that's unlikely. At this point, it's not whether you'll be hacked, it's when you'll be hacked.
Right. Well, so what about if they're using VPNs, Tor,
Matter.
encryption protocols, all of that?
That's
None
all
of that?
helpful, but you will still be hacked.
Right, but Darshan, I think when you use something like Creo, depending on who the user is, and I'm not just talking, you're ultimately thinking a CRA is going to be accessing, or the DM that's affiliated with that said CRO is going to be accessing the review. Let's just say, right? Even if you outsource overseas, it's going to be an affiliation with the CRO who potentially, or should, you would expect, have privacy regulations and SOPs in place for those employees. It's not like you're using a third-party contractor, right?
So
Like that's
so I can tell you I work with CROs of all sizes. Almost very, very few have this part together. In fact, no one does, mostly because it's so difficult to get this together.
Well, they obviously need to contact you to get their stuff together. But I'm just saying, me as a sponsor, if I'm contracting with a CRO to perform said duty, whether
No.
they're giving me what do you mean no?
You can't just go, oh, it's on you, and therefore I don't have to worry about it anymore. You have a duty to do due diligence. You have a duty to make sure that they are adhering to the law. And the truth is, smaller sponsors can't do that because they simply don't know. Larger sponsors go, it's not worth the risk, even though they are working globally. So keep that in mind. And I'm not saying you can't do it. There are ways to do it. It's just not as simple as, oh, we can do this cheaper somewhere else. Go do it. Be careful is all I'm saying.
Well, I'm just saying when you go through the RFP process and even the bid defense process, it's not uncommon. It's actually very common for the CROs to say, well, hey, we can have a US based team or we can have an ex-US team. Like, and here's the price delta. Here's the change. Like, here's the difference. And it can be 70% cheaper to do it ex-US. And it's funny you mentioned that because as a sponsor, I'm not considering the privacy implications of having an ex-US data management team. But you make a great point. We need to do some due diligence in figuring out that they're compliant with those things. But the other part of that, Darshan, is I find very oftentimes, CROs are reluctant to share their SOP libraries. Exactly. They don't want to send them over. They're confidential. They cherry pick what they want to share with you. So let me ask you a question. How do I, as a sponsor, ensure compliance from that perspective?
Audits. You got to have someone from your side actually do an audit. If they won't share it, I can't use you. Because it's not just privacy. It's also FCPA violations. It's a huge issue. I just did for a multi-million-dollar transaction, actually $20 million transaction, an FCPA audit. And we were talking about just what controls do you have in place. And it was pre-audit and post-audit and what is your code of conduct, blah, blah, blah. And you compare to, for example, if you're doing it in India, what kind of bribery issues do you need to look at? I know for a fact I lived in India for a large portion of my life, and I can tell you that when you go to India, simple things like I want to drive the car, the cop will stop me and go, you need to pay me a bribe to keep driving. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
Driving is a part of your life, and you accept it and you move on. But that's not how that works. You can get into some serious trouble in the US for that type of work. So don't just take people's word for it. I'm not saying you can't do it. Find out what controls they have and sort of do your due diligence. So,
I think that's great. I think that's great advice.
and I think Dan actually has a rule that I'm supposed to come on here every time and be the boogeyman.
No, Darshan, the rule is if you don't give someone an anxiety attack, you haven't done your job.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
And I got to start I got to start doing a little jugular massage to kind of slow my heart rate down.
Rob checking his vasovagal responses.
I know his basal response. He'll be back in 10 minutes with breath work.
A little bit about that. What laws are they using? Because FDA doesn't care about your privacy right now,
OCR
other than HIPAA. And I mean, that's HHS, but FDA really.
So you're 100% right. FDA does not care about, but OCR does, which is still under HHS. Number two, OCR is very happy to come down. FTC will come down. GDPR will come down. Every individual country might come down. SEC will come down for FCPA violations. And that's just off the top of my head, not counting NIST and the like for cybersecurity issues.
Now, so the GDPR, that's from the other country, the host country?
That's Europe, yeah.
Okay.
But you can have extraterritorial effects from GDPR.
And, since most of this is done by Microsoft Azure or, 360 or whatever, you can log on anywhere and hacking can be done down the street or in Croatia or wherever, like in country even.
But that's the funny part. Everyone thinks privacy is all about IT, and it's not. IT is probably about 40% of the problem. I'd say another 30% is actually another 20% getting the SOPs in place. And the remaining 30%, if I'm added that right, is training and auditing. And the truth is, I don't know if you guys have ever gone on like YouTube and just looked at what is it?
Never.
No, you basically look at how people can game their way into your accounts. It's very, very simple to do. So it's very simple and this woman did it on live TV. Within 6 seconds, she had access to this guy's entire work history.
And this is social engineering or like phishing?
That's the word I was looking for. Social engineering. I appreciate you using the word. I forgot the word, but yeah, social engineering. So HIPAA is trying to control for social engineering. FTC Act is trying to control for social engineering. GDPR, all of them are trying to control for that, because the weakest point in your privacy is often the human beings, because we want to be helpful. We want to be loved.
But this is like 0.01% of your litigation, or like this is so small. No, like it's not a big.
Oh, this year, just this year, I think it was like $1.2 billion in fines. Not fines. What's the word I'm looking for? Not penalties, not bribes.
Bribes?
No,
That's
not
India.
bribes. What's the word? Not just India. So all kinds of places have bribes, but that's not India. Is just the one I happen to have lived in. No, ransomware. That's the amount of ransoms that have been paid. Billions of dollars in ransoms in just 2023.
But that's when you get caught, right? I mean, when you get caught and you pay the ransom, like you then like the government says, hey, why is this? Why, you know, what did you do here? And now we're going to fine you for not having your systems.
You're thinking of fines. I'm thinking of ransoms.
Okay.
Ransoms is you're paying the
I'm
person.
more
that got
talking
away
about
with it.
like the government going after you because you leaked some information or some patient got hacked, or, you know, that's more like the CRO level that you would see. Like, it seems like it's a very low percentage that, that they're going after that.
So if you try, because I've tried to do this, I've had to do this, try asking your insurance provider to give you privacy insurance. Ask them what it costs. It's in the tens of, I did it for a company. It was like $40,000, and it was a very, very small company.
Wow.
And nobody asked for that. Like, I don't see that in any contracts.
And that's the point, because no one wants to ask that question, because you will be in serious trouble. And just because you don't see it in the contracts doesn't mean it shouldn't be there.
Well, it could be on the business side, maybe, I don't know, but I see a lot of the contracting and privacy insurance, like, unless they're a EU, AMA, UK outfit, I'm not seeing it.
I negotiate those agreements, and I'm telling you, we don't put them in there for the most part, because it's not standard right now. Should it be standard is a totally different beast, because the FDA lawyers know FDA law. Dan and I did a talk like last week.
You got a lot of people upset with you and me because I interview you. One guy said, "Tell your friend that he's wrong."
Okay.
Your lawyer friend.
Corporate practice of medicine. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
I was dumbfounded. I mean, I my head was spinning all day from that episode. I was. Just,
I need to watch it. I didn't see that.
We
time.
should get this guy on. Hold on. Let's see if he's up.
Yeah.
Why am I wrong? I want to hear this.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
log
didn't mean to
off.
keep you, Tiffany. I just wanted to ask
Sorry,
about
Oh
that.
no, it's okay.
Have a good night.
I'm invested, but yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be able to stay up much longer.
Tiffany Bennett,
one,
the
Tiffany.
legendary Tiffany Bennett. We got to do another one-on-one
Everyone has the
soon.
thing on, have I been pawned? That's a great one as well to point out identity theft issues. But that's not. We're not talking about identity theft though. We're talking about straight up hacking.
See ya.
Good night,
Okay.
Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
So why am
Darshan,
I wrong? I want to hear why I'm wrong. Yeah, go ahead, Ashley.
You want me to read the
question.
comments?
So,
or-
like, given where the future's going in the
Yeah.
sense of like all this hacking, I mean, our own treasury, all that
Yeah.
shit. So right now, obviously, you're saying that it's not part of contracts, or it's not necessarily being, mandated, I guess you could say. Do you feel like it's going to be going that route, given how, we're getting more and more technical, there's more and more ransoming that's happening. I mean,
It is mandated, Ashley. What we were talking about is privacy law, more of the privacy stuff, like using offshoring people to do QC. But for Part 11 does cover ransomware or phishing, or you want to have all the protection for your infrastructure, for your software, for your hardware. All
but I
of
mean, it's
that.
for the insurance then. So like,
Yeah, that's a privacy, privacy insurance to ensure that all of your data stays secure and private, or if it does get a breach, that it covers the ransomware. But it's not going to cover $100 million or $10 million. It's maybe cover $2 million, $3 million. But if you want a $10 million binder, that's going to be like in the
Expensive.
tens of
very
thousands.
expensive.
And no one's going to pay for that. No one.
I agree.
You're better off getting a security system like Bitdefender or one of these.
That's not even going to cover you though. That's not. going to be enough.
Well, or someone more robust to cover the ransomware, the all of these things that you would encounter in the environment,
Mhm.
in the
So,
jungle.
Patrick, you're speaking to the IT components, and HIPAA has probably about 50 IT components you can think about. But the social engineering and the training and the policies, those are the things you need to have. Breach notification systems, those need to be covered. So that's a lot of the stuff that IT simply couldn't get into.
Right. UK mandates that. So I've worked with some pharma that they, mandate this type of training for every newcomer onboarding. It all comes with the social engineering. It comes with, and some, I've seen some sponsors, want that for the SIV or, for using their EMR, EDC, whatever, but very, very seldom, unless they're, ICH EU stuff.
Well, the weak link is the sites, because I can tell you, majority of sites, all the sites I know, don't do any of this other than protect HIPAA, obviously. But as far as like watching their data breaches, no one does that. There's
And
no
then doing
sites
the
that are
yearly
doing that.
trainings as well.
They're not doing
Now,
that.
how would they even know, Dan? Right? Like, how would they know
won't.
if they got breached? And unless it was this ransomware stuff, but if it's just straight hacking and siphoning of information,
Yeah.
how are you going to even know?
You're not gonna know. And there's
Not
like
gonna know.
there's also common sense things you can do, like that are not even tech involved. Like an example was recently I went to a hot dog stand where I saw one of our patients, a study participant, and she actually said hi to me and like came up to me, and then I wanted to say, and I stopped myself, hey, how are you doing in the study? Because I was genuinely curious as a human being, right? But then I saw she's with someone, so I stopped myself.
Good for
But
you.
it's just regular conversation, right? Like,
I
what,
actually
Chris?
I actually have a funny story about this. I got to tell.
You breached. You're outing yourself right now. Darshan's ready to call the feds.
Go for it, Darshan. So every day almost I have calls with potential clients for service Dan and I offer.
Wow.
And whenever they're doctors and they're new to research, they always ask about this, right? What jeopardy am I placing myself in if I get involved here, right? And I said, well, just conduct yourself as though you're practicing medicine within your private practice, and you'll be fine, right? And he goes, yeah, that doesn't always work out either. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? And he was talking about something where some lady, which really surprised me, where some lady came in, had a blood test done or something, lab work. And once she got her results, the doctor had her come in, and she didn't see the doctor. She saw like an MA or something. And the MA told her that she had some venereal disease, right? Like herpes or something, I don't know. And the husband wound up divorcing her, and the lady sued this doctor because of FI, right? And I just like, wow, that's amazing. Well, I guess you can't always be protected in research, right? If this happens to you at your private
And you
practice.
can't be like a human being. The MA was probably trying, because I work with MAs all day long. They're usually trying to be helpful, and they know the patients are anxious, so they could log in and see the lab results, and they've seen venereal diseases, and they're probably like trying to do them a solid, right? So you don't have to wait for the doctor, and then look what happens.
Yep. I actually stopped myself from laughing, because it actually caught me off guard. I kind of found it funny, but
Well, laughing wouldn't be illegal, so you'd be okay
No,
by Darshan's standards.
kind of cruel to the
approve of
doctor if you had to
laughing.
pay for this.
So I approve of laughing as long as it's not in court when something serious is going on.
Yeah.
It happened too.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Did she win, Chris? Did she win the?
And
Yeah, the doctor said he lost some money on that. Yeah.
Wow,
I mean, yeah. I mean, you kind of. I mean,
that's
you're
messed
signing
up.
a lot of stuff in the
She
informed
got
consent.
divorced over it, right? I mean, what's the price on that?
So
I mean,
lawyers
of course,
make us
she could have taken
lawyers.
the first step and not done what she did, but
Yeah.
lawyers remove the soul from humanity, right? And like we just have to act like AI. We're just better off being AIs pretty soon. Can't come quickly enough.
Did you see today's AI though?
Which one? There's been like so many that
I
have
saw
been
the one
popping
where
up.
ChatGPT
Crazy.
had a baby and no one
Oh.
knew about it.
ChatGPT 2?
No,
Where
no,
they-
they're talking
The
about
real
Chat-
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It
Oh.
said ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever you said.
Yep.
It's made by humans. This one was made by ChatGPT 1.
The
independent of
creators
anyone.
found it or whatever the next
Yep.
day, and that they didn't know
Yep.
what the hell happened. And apparently, ChatGPT created a better version of itself and called it 2.0.
The
And
board, it's self assimilating.
Yeah.
When
That
do the
was-
Terminators arrive? That's all I want to know.
No, we already have.
Darshan
the
will be
Terminators,
ready
but
because they will be breaching
China has
some
them.
law. And
China
Darshan's
and
ready.
Russia both have Terminator
Oh,
robots.
God.
The
All
dogs.
right.
Oh,
They
the
have the
dogs?
tank. They have the sub. They have every variation.
We're pretty
of
big in China, Pat.
Terminator.
Like, we got a big
It's
audience
here.
there.
Like we are living in that time of Skynet. We are here.
All right. Awesome. I
Now,
can see it.
hey, DARPA has a dust. It's a dust. It's nanobots. Just spray you, and then
Who's
there's
DARPA?
AI and
DARPA?
stuff in you. What's that?
What was a HARPA?
DARPA, our own, black whatever agency.
Black
They
Ops.
have nanobot dust. They have a dust that they can spray, and then they tag you for life.
Un polvo.
That stuff stays in you.
Very nice.
There's DARPA and ARPA, and I have friends who work in them, like work with them. They've got some
Scary
weird
stuff.
stuff out there.
But scary.
mean,
The funny thing is, DARPA and ARPA, I used to think were like crazy good. Turns out DARPA and ARPA are really like they're looking for private contractors to do a lot of the work because
Yeah, they hire college kids.
yeah,
Or they make a contest for
Yeah.
what they need, and someone
Right.
else figures it out, and they're like, "Oh, look what we did! Here's $1 million bucks. Give me
Right.
$1 billion for this."
Wow.
Nice.
Did not know that. Wow.
Hey, that's a good
We gotta
business
come up with $1 million.
They're
Exactly. Yeah.
pirates.
Wow.
How do we do this? Give them like
Yeah.
a logo for their
Crowdsourcing.
LinkedIn.
Crowdsource DARPA.
Wow.
I like this.
Jeez.
Well, this is really
This is
after
why I don't
dark.
like missing these calls because I always learn something new. in
This
these
after
calls.
dark turned left pretty quick, but this was definitely interesting discussion.
Well, I'm waiting for the nanobots that fix us, not the ones that track us. Like
There you
predict tracking.
How do
I
you
want
guys
the
feel
ones that
about that? IP accountability. Why did they get rid of this idea?
Actually,
Swallow
did you
the pill.
hold on, Dan? Did you hear about the recent FDA warning letter on lack of IP accountability because the guy lost control of his products, of the research products?
Who lost his
Wow.
control? A patient?
The
No,
sponsor?
the PI.
Oh,
Oh,
the P-
Oh.
Because it wasn't locked behind the appropriate controls. So I do like pharmacy audits for sites,
yeah.
and because I set up pharmacy systems and all that good stuff, I've done that for hospitals. I've done that for sites.
Okay.
You need to your prescription drugs need to be typically behind 2 levels of locks,
Mhm.
Right. Double
So-
lock. Yeah.
right? Double locked.
Mhm.
This guy had controlled substances that weren't.
Ooh.
And that's
Controlled
That's
substance.
DEA.
That's
Yeah,
DEA
gets
right
involved.
there. They come with guns. They don't
So
just
this
come with a
thing that-
bubblegum badge like Pat Stone said with his book. Bubblegum
Well,
badge. is a good
the
book.
OCI will come in. Those OCI guys, they carry
Yeah.
guns and they will bust you up.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that was actually we can pull that one up actually if you
Well,
like.
that's common sense. But you don't want to hear the comment of the guy that called you out on being
Oh, I
wrong.
do.
There was actually
I
a
do.
few.
I do. Let's hear
Yes.
it.
I do. I do. I'm ready for this.
Oh, let me get my drink.
Well, this one I already know Darshan's answer, but like I could be the Chat GPT of Darshan to reply
Okay,
back.
go ahead.
But no, I won't. But that lawyer on your show is off. And,
Okay.
and added you to a post. Research is not medical practice. And then
Okay.
I said he argues it can be considered by states. And then he said, which is pretty safe, Chat GPT like response. And then he said you read it off and he was trying to play with words, but he is not a doctor and doesn't know.
Actually, I am a doctor.
Okay, hold on.
He's
But
a
he
farm
is-
D. That's a doctor.
Mhm.
Nice. He also has a legal degree. Also
Yeah.
a
Right.
doctor.
Two
But he
doctors.
is not a doctor and doesn't know, but research is research. It's not the
Thanks.
practice of medicine. The intent is different, as medicine is trying to
not how
make
that works.
patients better, and researchers find knowledge about a drug and its effects.
Somebody got
Yeah,
You don't even need
yeah,
medical
lawyers-
malpractice. If it was medicine, he goes. This is like a Kindle. You have to pay 99 cents to read the book. Page 2. You don't even need medical malpractice. If it was medicine, I could do whatever I want for a patient, but I have to follow the protocol if they
Let
have
me ask you a really
issues.
simple question. If that is true, why do you need a medical doctor involved at all?
Yeah, he goes on more, and then there's others too.
Well, what are the
But
others?
that's just
That one
well,
is kind
another one was more funny.
Okay.
It's on YouTube, and this was public, so I could mention it. It's
yeah.
3 wins, we will win. Shout out to you. He or she's been commenting a lot. Let's close all insurance companies then. How many times an insurance company would deny a licensed doctor's prescription for whatever reason? Research is not clinical practice. Research has its own regulations.
That's not how that works.
I figured that's what you would say.
You're saying I was misunderstanding something. I was totally willing to like take. These are just sort of I don't like the answer kind of response.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like the truth, so I'm gonna deflect.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I'm gonna subscribe to what fits my narrative. It
Right.
goes to what I posted.
And you might have got me an
No.
unsubscriber off of that video, so thank you, Darshan. We appreciate it, man.
What are you from? Like 2 million subscribers to 199,999?
Nah, I don't know, but I think he still follows. Maybe I'll get him on one day.
Yeah, you should.
He or she.
Should invite it.
Maybe tonight. Are you guys down for it?
No
Dan, a
sponsor
healthy
wants
dose of
to go with
skepticism. Let's
Yeah.
get it.
non-medical like person running their trial, and every nurse or every anyone that's involved is going to have credentials, like medical credentials, licensed,
Yeah.
whether they're a paramedic or whatever they are, they're going to have credentials.
So I had a really simple thing. I forget the credentials. I wasn't even going off of that because it doesn't matter. The credentials don't even matter. It was purely here's the definition. Do you fit in it? And or more importantly, can a lawyer tell you that you fit in it? We pulled up a definition. I think we pulled up California, if I remember correctly, and we said
And Arizona.
and
You did
Arizona.
Yeah, you pulled it up. I
Yeah.
think the paradigm shift for me from this conversation, or the thing that stands out the most from this particular live or Guru After Dark, was when Darshan said the weak point in all of this is humans.
Yeah.
And I think that is what the AI would argue too. So
Yeah, before they start killing us all.
So
But a PI doesn't have to be an MD. Doesn't have to even have a license.
they have to be a clinician. Is the point? They absolutely have to be
No.
licensed.
But do they? Do they have to
Oh,
be
yeah.
a clinician?
Oh yeah,
Dan and I were offered to be a PI.
that would be a problem.
No, it
We
wouldn't.
were.
They were gonna do it. They didn't do it. But-
Rob, what would your reaction be if you saw a?
Oh, Robert would have totally co-sign us, like no issue. Perfect.
It's
Yeah,
like,
correct.
fair enough.
The caveat was with an MD as a sub-I
Yes.
with us, working
Yep.
with us.
I would have. So it depends on the type of study.
Yeah.
If it's an active intervention, I would
Yeah.
be very concerned. There's an active intervention.
Yeah, the drug actually got approved since then.
What's your take, Patrick?
No, I mean, I would venture to say that, it would be highly, unorthodox. It would be, I wouldn't really recommend it for a reviewer looking at it, a medical doctor reviewer and the FDA going, what? Wait a minute.
Well,
The confidence level. So FDA is about confidence level. If the confidence is
Yeah.
low, it's a 10% approval. So, or less, whatever it is. And if they have low confidence, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
so I got a dumb question. Is a psychologist considered a clinician
Mm.
For what purposes?
for this conversation?
No,
Are they
think
considered-
interventional
you,
drug-
you said they have to be a clinician, and I know lots of
So,
psychologists
Chris,
interventionally
Chris.
being a
To
PI.
be a
I'm
PI.
gonna-
That's the question. Go
I'm
ahead.
going to jump in here. So, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion. I think there's a whole misinterpretation of the 1572, anyways. But I believe that to answer your question, Chris, can a psychologist treat? And it's arguable. Again, I mean, there's both sides of this, but I'm talking about interventionally treat a disorder in which the patient has been diagnosed for. If the answer to that question is no, they are not considered a provider.
I'll take
So-
you one step further. There's actually a definition of number one, provider. Number two, can they prescribe the drug? In most cases, you are actually talking about an intervention where a drug has to be prescribed. Can
Correct.
they prescribe?
If the answer is yes, they're a provider.
So
It's
if
that
it was
simple.
psychotherapy, then yes. You
And if
can
the
argue.
answer is well, that's the argument, right, Dan? So now if a psychologist,
Psychiatrist. There you go.
yeah, so a psychologist is providing,
But
woosah
psychologists
and,
do psychotherapy. So if the intervention was psychotherapy, the psychologist could be a PI. That way, I would argue it.
One could argue, yes.
But if it's a
But-
medication or a soon to be, like, hopefully a medication, I would say you would need a psychiatrist, MD.
So Dan, you could be the PI, but you would be probably sued for prescribing a non-approved drug because
Oh yeah,
physician orders or a release of IP to a subject is in fact prescribing, and that's where you would be liable for doing it right or doing it wrong. Someone could just
yeah.
say, "Hey,
and
man,
surprisingly,
I didn't like you that day. I'm going to sue you because you have no business
Yes.
prescribing."
I agree.
And that's where Chris,
I
I
wanted
think
nothing
you
to
put
do
yourself
with it.
in jeopardy for not just FDA, like, oh, we're not confident, but a state law that may say, hey, if you're prescribing something, you better have credentials. I don't care who you are.
Right.
And if you don't, I can sue the pants off of you and the sponsor for allowing you to do it. So it's like double jeopardy, right, Darshan? Like I could become a millionaire in a week.
I don't know the double jeopardy, but I agree with you that suing him would be very, very simple.
Prior
that-
authorization would get me out off the hook.
That's not what prior authorization means. Jeez.
Kelvin, take it up with Darshan. I appreciate the backing there.
I love Kelvin though. Just to be clear, I do love Kelvin. Kelvin's great. Because he's sort of I'm following the chat and Kelvin's all about like AI and he's like giving all this stuff. I love what he's putting out there. But that's not prior
So
authorization.
how soon until AI is MD prescribing and you don't need doctors anymore?
So here's the answer to that question. AIs do not, no system wants AIs prescribing because of the malpractice that goes with it.
Yeah, it's an
So far.
algorithm. It's
So
an
far.
algorithm.
Exactly.
How do
They
you
want,
make it?
they want a Rob that they can blame so that Rob can be basically go, I consulted the AI, I disagreed or I agreed or whatever it is, and then I prescribed. If they get rid of Rob, suddenly Microsoft is being sued by every person who vomited or had a shitting fit. So they don't want that. So they would want a human intervention at all times, which is why if you look at software, according to the FDA, they go, is this going to replace someone or is this going to augment someone? And everyone wants to be in the augment, not in the replace, because the standard for replace would be so much higher.
Until they get rid of the human beings, then it's all fine.
Actually, you know what's a really this is something I got really interested in because I was just doing some work in it. But telehealth is getting sued up the wazoo. There's so much stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I
So
thought.
you
I
can't
mean,
use Zoom. Can you use Zoom to see a patient remotely?
No, you should not be using Zoom to see a patient remotely.
What
because
should you use? Like what tool?
They have their own systems.
Yeah.
They all have their own systems.
Name one.
EHR. What's the big one we use? Ashley, what's the big EHR system?
No
Uh,
one's downloading this shit. They're all using Zoom, man. Can't even name it.
No. They're two big ones. What?
Epic.
Epic and Cerner. Epic and Cerner. They have their own.
Okay.
I was
yeah.
gonna say Texas is all Cerner practically.
It was
Yeah.
the 76ers all over again.
Just bring it back to my weak point. My
It's
last
just like-
knowledge.
There's so many like this is kind of like a house of cards, honestly.
Thank you, Kelvin. See, I'm
Oh,
telling you,
Cerner.
Kelvin's my man right there.
He, let me look up Kelvin's LinkedIn profile real quick because
We're gonna
yeah.
put 'em on blast.
Kelvin, you want to come on? I'd love to have you on too, because we appreciate. Oh, compliance program administrator at WER Consulting or W3R Consulting.
Real
Worldwide.
quick, Darshan. So why is it that they're getting sued like crazy right now? Because I mean,
Look at their ads. I love you too, Kelvin.
I'm gonna Google it.
But no, they're getting sued for multiple things. But the biggest one they're being sued for right now is a lot of the ads. So Congress is really pissed off with them. because they're making claims that that you couldn't support. And Congress has gone to FDA and been like, "Why are you guys not stopping it?" The big problem is FDA has no jurisdiction because they aren't manufacturers. But there are situations where the FDA has taken a step further than that and gone, "Yeah, you know what? You aren't a manufacturer." They've gone after doctors for this before, where they've said it's not as simple. It's not as simple as simply saying you're not an MD, or you're an MD and you're not subject to the FDA's jurisdiction. They've actually gone after MDs and cited them in their warning letters to that effect as well. So yeah, be careful is what I'm saying.
Would the state go after them more than the FDA, the state board, or?
But no, the issue is not it's the claims that are being made, right? So the state board wouldn't have doesn't have the expertise for this. It's sort of like when the states tried to go after compounding pharmacies for manufacturing problems. They simply didn't have the qualifications to do it. They needed the FDA. Now they're getting.
And we did that podcast back in 2013,
right? It's still going on, by the way. So
Darshan,
those lawyers getting bank.
Yeah. I still to this day do not understand how these compounding pharmacies are doing these GLP-1 oral drugs and offering it via telehealth. It blows my mind.
Why people are getting dinged on.
Yes, I've been hearing about that. That's
like that's a whole topic I would love to dive into because it's unbelievable to me. I mean, people are becoming billionaires offering these. Oh, you're not going to have, and they're making these claims. You're not going to have the GI side effects. You're not going to have this. Right. You're not going to have that.
Exactly. So, right here, I wrote the chapter on compounding pharmacy.
What is that book? Show it for.
Yeah, what is the title?
For Kelvin. Kelvin will buy it.
This and all the editions after that. Like there were like 6 editions or something. But that's the book.
Can you autograph my version before you send it?
It's in Chris's shopping cart right now.
It's only like $400 last time I remember.
Pat, where's your book, man? Bubblegum.
I get no money for that. Just to be very clear.
Well, it's like on the back.
Oh, you're doing that wrong, man. There's Pat's book.
There you go.
Bubblegum badge.
Bubblegum badge.
That's super
that's a book everyone
that's a good one, though. I do read that every so often, by the way, Patrick. I do like that book.
That's a classic.
You're gonna have to sign mine too, Patrick, and you too, Darshan.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Someone actually put me as one of the subjects in one of their books, which was kind of interesting. That was cool.
Did you give your consent?
Yeah, I did.
Oh. I'm trying to see if we have a case. If we have a case here.
Case study.
Okay. We're just trying to make a fast buck, man. Hold on.
No, but
FDA is definitely coming down on compound pharmacies.
Oh yeah.
There's a few like bioidenticals or hormone therapies.
Yeah.
That they're restricting, like, oh, I can't give you a 3-month or 4-month vial of this. I got to give it to you every month. And so that just came out like 6 months ago or something, where they've changed everything that the compound pharmacies can do.
Is the BUD dates you're thinking of, Patrick? The beyond use dates. That's been a problem because compounding pharmacies are not intended to replace manufacturers. They're intended to supplement manufacturers. But the problem is that people have gotten crazy with it. People have made millions. I've helped people make millions on it. It's hard though, because when you connect compounding pharmacies to DME suppliers, to telehealth companies, to MDs, you get this weird nexus where unnecessary drugs are prescribed. And I literally, I can actually even bring up the article. I just wrote an article on how literally within the last year and a half, 3 different groups got sued. I'm talking in the billions of dollars. I can pull it up if you give me 2 seconds. DOJ, telehealth.
While Darshan's looking, Drake, I agree. Kelvin, let's set up a podcast, man, or maybe get you on the next After Dark.
I mean, outside of After Dark, we should just have freaking,
Kelvin's Corner.
Like clinical research news. Like, I mean, literally, like this is good. This is good news.
Yeah, we started out with Fortrea layoffs. Ashley, you must feel great right now. Like,
yes,
you worked for a CRO.
Mm-hmm.
You timed it perfectly. Work for a sponsor now.
Mm-hmm.
Right before all this, like Robert. A year. Thanks to Robert. Yes. Wow. Okay, I didn't know if you want to put it out there yet. Thank you, Robert. Robert helps a lot of people like low key.
He definitely
without-
helped connect and pass my resume out. so I
Yeah.
appreciate
What was the
Or-
dude
or-
you helped get a job? The
Kellen
Kellen.
Battle.
He's
Big
probably
shout
not
out to
watching now
him.
because he's sleeping. He's got to go.
Well,
to
yeah, he's
monitoring.
busy. He's onboarding and he's probably flying out.
He's on a red eye
already.
right now.
Probably.
Okay. I'm gonna present for a second.
Kelvin's corner.
Kelvin's corner.
I want to trademark that one. We'll talk, Kelvin.
But corner should be spelled with a K.
That's right.
And you know,
That's
yeah, and do
right.
a
Just
focus
saying.
on AI and then bring them to SOS and any other projects.
Here's Darshan's good night message to all of us. So you can shit your pants in your sleep. Do not use Zoom when talking to patients. Don't even use your phone. Matter of fact, don't use your voice. Just
Just don't
I don't know
use.
how you're going to communicate.
Wow.
We'll never screen patients this way with Darshan.
Telling you, if your blood pressure and pulse rate don't go up when you're talking,
I'm gonna
to
tell all my
Darshan,
staff, telling all my staff tomorrow. We just shouldn't screen anymore.
No
It's
pre-screen
illegal.
either.
It's illegal.
Darshan, you
Just
should like.
if
I know
they
you have-
fall out of the sky, it's legal. But otherwise, like, don't do anything. What
I know
about
you have your
signs printed around the
consulting, but you
street?
should have like a small step by step. Like if you can't afford my consulting for low price, I'll give you a template of what not to touch. Just so everybody will buy that shit.
don't touch anything.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is
Don't do anything.
nothing.
Just go home.
So
Go
I'm gonna-
home and hope you don't get sued.
So as much as I say, like, be careful with people you're using, I actually have an Indian lawyer who helps me as a paralegal. So I managed to like drop my costs for some people. And
How do we bribe him?
And that's easy.
I knew you were gonna go there.
All right, what is this? Telemedicine,
Oh my
plead
God.
guilty, $110 million.
Well, that's almost like minor compared to this one.
Oh, I know that number is not nice.
1.2 billion in
So what's the
healthcare fraud.
TLDR of this, Darshan? What's
TLDR is don't be so what a lot of these companies were doing was they basically go and start calling up patients and going, hey, you want some drugs? And whether or not they said yes, in many cases they just go, yeah, I'm going to send you some drugs. A doctor wouldn't even necessarily even meet them. So there were doctors who'd write prescriptions in like 7 seconds and 8 seconds and just okay the prescription. So essentially they just became pathways for drugs to be prescribed without appropriate oversight. So it's the opioid crisis just without opioids.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, I know a lot of previous healthcare industries. So I have a
Yeah.
slew of providers that are friends and stuff. And I do remember specifically during COVID where, they would talk about it was very insane, not just in person, but also in telemed, and how they were seeing so many patients so fast. And I was just like, how are you even assessing these patients? That
Yeah.
sounds very, very quick. And like, well, we're timed and all this stuff. And wow. Not surprised.
I feel like every time I come on, I just scare the shit out of you guys. I'm so sorry.
I know.
No, but
must
so
be
this
fun to
looks
go
more
have,
standard
dinner
of
with.
care, though, Darshan.
What-
Is any of this clinical research?
So this is that's what I was saying. I'm worried more about so first of all, data sharing. Yeah, probably that might become a bit of a problem. So make sure, for example, when we were talking, that you have appropriate. If you do the MSO structure we're talking about, you may not have as much of a problem because you aren't worried about HIPAA anymore. But that's a different beast, different discussion altogether.
Do you think the industry is going to get more or less litigious as more consolidations happen?
I'm sorry, who is?
The industry, is it going to get more or less litigious as more consolidation happens?
Litigious with whom? With each other? I'm confused because
Yeah, with the regulators against companies.
So first of all, there's a general rule. When Republicans are in office, the litigation drops. When Democrats are in office, litigation goes up. The allegation would be there's more fraud. Democrats catch more fraud. Where Republicans tend to go, I want to go light on government. And I'm not
Is
making
that a long way of saying you're a Democrat?
I didn't say one way or the other. I'm always quiet about this.
Independent.
RFK, man. RFK for president 2024. I got a hat on
Didn't
it.
you have like a bug in your head for that though?
Huh?
Didn't you hear that he had like a literal bug in his head? That
Well,
was
there-
in-
Yes, a
I don't
worm,
think it was
a
a
worm,
hat. I think
yes.
it is.
That's why he's
That
taking
hat
ivermectin.
is.
Yeah, he didn't take enough horse paste. And the FDA got beat up for saying, hey, don't do this. They got sued, and the courts struck them down. Hey, you're not a doctor. You can't say no ivermectin.
Actually, that
We
was
got him some.
literally
We got promotion.
Farmacia
Ivermectin's happening.
Benavides. I got the membership.
Taken.
Ignore the HIPAA
You're on a
component.
regimen.
It's my own records, man.
I know it is. That's why
I
That's what the
consent.
vitamin.
I consent. I allow.
Oh my god, is that funny, Dan? You're killing me. I'm serious.
These after dark.
This is like turned into a comedy hour over here.
With Darshan on.
Oh, it's the
it
best.
never.
you don't know whether to laugh
Yeah.
or to cry with
I'm
me.
literally
I
like.
really don't.
I'm
That's
gonna
not like
try to
I mean,
sleep.
I'm on a roller coaster of emotion. 1 minute I'm happy,
like-
1 minute I'm sad, 1 minute I'm confused.
After a Darshan recording, you try to sleep. You're like, okay, he has to say that because you're thinking like, I have to change everything we do at our site. Like
But
we
I
shouldn't even
showed
show up
you.
tomorrow.
I'm not just saying shit. I'm showing you where it's coming from.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like,
But there's nothing you can do. Like,
Oh,
what are we gonna do?
So do you feel like you didn't get enough scary stuff from me? Okay, let me
One
show
more,
you.
one more. Yes, let's do it.
Here's
Uh,
more, man. No pre-screening allowed. No
That's what I'm saying.
talking.
You should do like the hot hour with
Wait,
Darshan. the
Darshan,
weekly
can
news.
you, if you have a potential patient, all right, can your coordinator use their cell phone to call them? We're making this practical as shit. Just tell me yes or no.
Generally speaking,
Plain English.
And Dan's like, I'm asking for a
not
friend.
giving legal advice. Yeah, probably.
Can you text them on their phone?
God no! Stop it.
Can you leave a voicemail from your phone?
HIPAA.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where this ends, man. You
why
can't
can't
screen
you-
anymore,
wait,
guys.
Why can't you text them? I know that sponsors have set up automated services to text them.
But theoretically, theoretically, you might be able to, but you need to get consent to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
it'll be in the consent. Got it.
I think when they opt in, I think
and
our
then it
boy
comes down to
Ronick
are you
does
gonna
a
get
good job.
paid, are you
Like they
not,
opt in.
the whole kind of stuff. But
Okay, I think we're safe.
okay, do you guys want to?
What's keeping you from using Teams or something else like that isn't your own cell phone, or that's part of the business line or
Scared
business
shitless. I
service?
don't know. We're not even
You're
gonna
not
try to
even-
attempt that.
Dan, you want to share my screen for a second? Because I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like
here
you
we
haven't
go.
been scared enough.
Yeah, I've been scared
Yeah.
enough, man.
So
We're still gonna screen.
that's from April 24, just to be clear. Essentially, they are now saying the criminal division of the Department of Justice wants individuals to voluntarily self-disclose criminal proceedings. So that might include issues of FDA type healthcare fraud and the like would be included in this.
Ding.
We
So-
got a good comment, like a very practical one. Becky says, how do companies like Medable fall into this telehealth concern field? Just had a new study, wanted telehealth visits to go through that platform.
I don't know enough about Medible's
I
process. to
knew
comment.
that would be
If
there.
they want to hire me, I'm happy to look into it.
There you go, Becky. Hit someone up there that knows.
Yeah, I don't know
I'll-
enough.
Yeah,
to
connect with
answer.
their show. All right. Well, in all seriousness, man, there's a lot to consider with.
I'm serious. We should do like
Sites,
a hot
zeros.
live wire of news, and Darshan will just scare everybody. You'll get a shit ton of
Mm.
clients. and
Yeah.
it's a no brainer.
What is this on the screen now? Can I put this with your consent? Do I have your consent?
You do, but here,
Or is this someone's contract?
no. This is the same thing I was looking at before.
Oh, okay.
So what does it include? It includes violation of healthcare fraud, illegal healthcare kickbacks committed by or through public companies or private companies with 50 or more employees. So the big question that you're dealing with often is the question of what is healthcare fraud? And in research, the big thing we think about is, you know what? I want to get paid more. The PI should be paid more. If he gets paid more than fair market value, that could be considered to be a kickback. And if it is considered to be a kickback, you now have issues of healthcare fraud.
Here comes the Sunshine Act again, Darshan. And every time we talk, the Sunshine Act comes up, and I go nuts.
There
I'm
you
like,
go, Chris.
Let
me ask you guys a
PI.
question.
When does it stop?
About the Sunshine Act. Quick question. If a company does not have approved products, are they subject to Sunshine reporting if they're conducting a clinical trial?
Yes. Yes. Just a simple yes.
with no approved products.
Yes.
No
What if they're
cookies.
only doing a study in the U.S.?
Yes.
What if they're doing studies only? Hold on. What if they're doing studies only outside of the U.S. and they apply in the future in the
Yeah.
U.S.?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to be very honest with you. A large.
I want to clarify that. They're
Okay.
doing the study outside the US, not for US patients at all. Maybe not.
Okay.
But
I had
go ahead.
Darshan. I had a VP level colleague at a top 5 CRO. And when I say top 5, pick your favorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tell me, and I have it in writing, that that companies who are privately held, who have no approved products on the market, are not subject to Sunshine Act reporting annually. I'm not
And he
kidding
got
you.
that from FDA or what? He talked to someone from FDA because
I'm talking,
They-
Patrick, a high-ranking official at one of these large CROs trickling this message downwards.
Hold
This
on.
is what I mean, Patrick. This is what I mean. That's exactly.
Patrick's
makes
like,
you,
no more. Don't say anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
why Patrick's in business.
Actually,
Exactly.
technically,
He's like,
Exactly.
business is booming.
Business
that's
is
not
booming.
Patrick, though. That's
Seen
technically
his shoes?
CMS,
You've seen his shoes?
It's under CMS, right?
I actually haven't
Right.
seen the shoes.
not FDA.
They're really cool.
CMS.
It's CMS. So
Okay,
like
here-
go ahead.
Here's the definition. Applicable manufacturers. I'm sorry. Do you have me on screen?
Applicable manufacturers.
Yeah. So engage in the production. Yeah. So it's a simple.
Compounding or conversion of a
Yeah.
covered drug device biologic.
But it's not covered because it's not marketed. That's
not
the
if
argument.
it's solely for use within the entity itself. Hold on, let's take a look. We should be fair.
If you were a real client, this would be already like $1,000.
Oh, way more than $1,000, dude. I'm not going on cheap. Hold on, let me. Actually, they have a definition because wait, I'm sorry. You know what? I was thinking of. Here's the thing. I made a mistake. I was thinking of clinicaltrials.gov. I was not thinking of Sunshine Act. To be fair, because I was thinking about when do trials need to be reported, and unapproved. The trial results still need to be reported even if your product's not approved.
No, Sunshine Act. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Joe is on. Shout out. You guys want to go down rabbit hole and have 3
Dudes.
more hours? Like solar flares and electromagnetic poles flipping? Like, you ready for all
Degradation
that?
of Starlink.
Like all the Northern Light stuff that's been happening.
Man, you guys ready for that? Dr. Joe, everyone go subscribe. Dr. Joe Show right now on YouTube.
Did you guys see the latest update on the Sunshine Act, by the way? That came out in 2023.
So Darshan, what is it? I need to know this answer.
I need to look into it. You hiring?
It would be the meter's rolling still. It's 2,000 now.
2,000. Jeez,
How much would it be? Like this, since Robert asked this question, like your price.
So, it's $6.95 an hour.
Oh wow.
Okay, well, we're at like $8 now, so let's keep it going.
Just to be
No,
clear,
seriously.
that is not what I used with any kind of structure behind it. But that's the usual hourly. Hold on, I'm trying to find the 2023 update.
I mean, seriously,
Robert,
I've heard, yeah, we will, because I've
Meanwhile,
heard
Dr.
so
Joe,
many
I see you tomorrow, man.
So many conflicting things around,
Let's pull it up. We'll have to look it up. I don't want to comment for exactly the reason I commented before, which is
Okay.
without knowing, you need a little bit of a research on this.
That's right.
But Patrick seems very confident that regardless of approved products or not, if you're engaged in the business of conducting a clinical trial with the intention of seeking commercialization approval, aka an NDA, all of that work and compensation leading up to that submission should be tracked for the purpose of Sunshine. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
I
so there's
genuinely have to look it up. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I've heard, and I'm telling you, it's a very high-ranking official, VP level. You
To me,
know?
that doesn't matter. I'm not enthralled by people with titles. Like, I don't care. I had a VP title.
Well,
I know.
look,
I'm an idiot.
Darshan, I guess I say that to say they have an extensive 25-year, tenure in a position that you seek to. So imagine a small biotech coming to your CRO and saying, "Hey,
Right.
are we subject to sunshine reporting given we're a privately held company who has no approved products?" And they tell you, "No, yeah, you are required." It's a he said, she said, but at the end of the day, they're not going to care about that. You have an obligation. You need to meet that obligation. You have to be reporting it.
Hold on.
I don't know the answer. My impression.
Do you want to
Is
share?
that-
What do you do when no one has an answer? Like you just proceed as usual, no?
Ask Rob.
No. So there are a couple of different answers to that. So I'll give you the answers after this. So I haven't done enough research. I'm just sort of giving you what they're saying. How can an applicable manufacturer request a delay in publication for a research-related payment? And how will CMS notify the applicable manufacturer if the delay is approved? Which means that it won't always be approved, which means that, and again, this is just prima facie. Publication of a payment may be delayed when it is a new application or there's clinical investigation. An applicable must indicate that and the payment will be delayed. But that doesn't mean that it must not be reported. It just means that publication will be delayed. And here. So again, I'm purely going off of what this one quick pull-up was.
And Robert, the reason why I say yes is because let's say you're a principal investigator, right?
Mhm.
And it's not your clinic, it's someone else's clinic, and they're going to pay you. They can't pay you 50%. You can't be that much into it because Sunshine Act applies. And then does it apply because it's standard of care? No, it applies because it's research. It's NDA, IND, BLA, whatever the case may be. You want to play, Russian roulette. Oh, I'm a VP. That's fine. But it applies. Like if I have to worry about my PI not making XYZ because Sunshine Act applies and all they're doing is research, then what else is there? Like that's kind of
Right.
I don't know if Patrick's right or wrong. I want to lean towards him, but to the point that was being made earlier, it's a non-covered drug. But here's the question that I would then explore. Would Botox in the original format not ever have had a Sunshine Act payment reported? And I would argue, again, without checking, that I would argue that those payments were reported as they were being done. But again, I did not look into it. I do not know that for a fact. So to me, this is illustrative. Just for you, it's 10080 is there. Oh, sorry, I thought you were showing that on the screen.
There you guys go. We got a new comment on YouTube that just came through, and maybe bring it back full circle. My company, so this person works for a CRO. My company just received the study from Moderna, and they're using a different method. They just announced they are not using a CRO, but instead incorporating more of their in-house monitors.
Yeah, but that's been the thing. You see those waves happening all the time, right? You see the going in-house and then bring it all sort of in-house.
Right, but those are all jobs. Like for those CROs, those are jobs that if they can't find another study for them,
or they just get hired by the sponsor. Someone's got to still do the oversight.
Well, yeah, that was Ash.
The real question is going to be, if you really move towards risk-based monitoring, which the FDA is pushing sponsors to consider more and more.
They've been doing that since like 2016, no?
They have been, but the truth is most CROs, and Robert, you tell me if you're seeing it differently. Patrick, you tell me if you're seeing it differently. But my experience is that they will say risk-based monitoring, and they'll focus on certain sites, but then do 100% monitoring anyways on top of that. So what are you guys seeing it differently, either Robert or Patrick?
Data monitoring a little more than monitoring. I mean, I see CROs firing the monitor section and going with a data oversight or data committee or QC in the data area, but these aren't really monitors. They're just trying to catch, whether it's transcription errors or anomalies in blood or biological analysis. But I see that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I see a lot of RBQM, risk-based quality monitoring, but I also see targeted SDV, Darshan,
Right.
and I also see tiered SDV. So, these types of buckets, it's all falls under the purview of risk-based monitoring, right?
Right.
The first patient's 100% SDV. The second patient has just critical variables, and then you tier these subjects, and then they're moved into different buckets. I would say that I have not seen 100% SDV in quite some time. Probably within the last 5 years, I have not seen 100% SDV study. I think they're moving away from that rapidly.
Oh, good to know. So maybe my information is dated. Good to know.
Ashley, what are you seeing? Ashley's like on the trenches with this at a sponsor.
Yeah, well, I mean, currently I do agree with Robert, but I will say that where I was previously at, which I'm already past that year marker, that I have not been with them, so free to speak. They, at least the position that I had, really wasn't. It would kind of speak to risk-based monitoring, but it really wasn't in that focus. It was more on the data end. At least I wouldn't see too much of the different tiers that Robert was just explaining as I am now. So.
And you still, that's not to exclude or say that you don't still have DMCs and DSMBs. You're going to still have that in a risk-based approach. You're also going to have these new roles that are called central data analysts or central data scientists, which typically used to be central monitoring associates who are looking at trends, traffic light patterns, red, green, yellow, looking at the risks. You're creating a risk log. What can you detect centrally? What can be detected only on site? And you kind of create this algorithmic, detection, and you're having a person, whatever their title may be, central data analyst, scientist, CMA, in-house CRA, whatever, every organization has something different, that's collaborating with the monitoring CRA in this risk-based approach to come up with these risk profiles that apply to each of the critical variables that pertain to the endpoints as, for efficacy and safety. And you're really only looking at that data. And they do it on a tiered approach. To answer Kelvin's question, it's like, one every 10th patient becomes 100% SDV. So patient number 1 is 100% SDV. Patient number 2 is 50%. Patient number 3 is 25%. And then it kind of resets itself on a cycle. That's just one example, but it doesn't eliminate DSMBs, data safety monitoring boards, or data monitoring committees. But those have to be outlined in the protocol to begin with. Risk-based monitoring, whether you're going to do risk-based or 100% SDV, does not have to be denoted in a protocol from the beginning. Just how you're going to mitigate risk and the quality of oversight and data oversight does need to be.
Patrick, I have a question for you. Based on what you're seeing and based on what your experience is, do you need to have a better plan than what the tiers that? And I recognize, Robert, you're just using an example, but the idea here where you go, patient 1 gets 100%, patient 2 doesn't, patient 3 gets less. I thought when I saw, again, looking at the guidance going back 10 years, but I thought you need to have an actual strategy. It can't be as random as just what number were you. It's got to be based on more criteria than that. It might be.
But there's a layer that Robert's not talking about either. Is when does QA get involved? Do they get involved early, middle, late? Because we're talking monitoring. And if you're going to have that type of monitoring, your QA better be spot on.
Right.
If you start trailing off, that QA layer better start where you trail off. So there's escalation, because ICH mandates escalation. You're not escalating when you're de-escalating.
Well, yeah, and Patrick, that's the idea behind these, central data analyst meetings where you get together with the project team and you literally decide, do we have a trigger visit? So a trigger visit happens, as you know, when one of these critical variables are identified as a trend, which is becoming now a problem, whether that's, they're underreporting AEs as compared to the standard deviation of the mean of all the other sites, or they're overreporting, or they're, they have no protocol deviations reported. You're starting to look at all these different risk trends, and you can actually enact a trigger visit, go out there for the sole purpose of rectifying this specific issue. And you actually have monitoring units in a budget or a proposal to focus on these risk trigger visits that go to identify a certain issue. So to your point, those escalations are the purpose of that meeting, to collectively decide, sponsor, CRO together in conjunction with this analyst, to decide what needs to be done about a trend that presents itself. So, I mean, I agree with you. You know, the quality oversight and the quality assurance department has to be spot on. The QMS system has to be ready to go. But I'm just saying, I'm seeing less and less 100% SDV. I have not seen 100% SDV model for quite some time.
Medium and small pharma still do it, and they actually want to be present on the first dose, or they want to be present on the second or third milestone. Like, so they're in-house. It's not just a monitor. It's, you know, one of their PharmDs or one of their docs or one of their innovators. They want to be at, you know, every site or a few sites. And so I am seeing that as, you know, more as well too, with the less monitoring. Maybe there's less monitoring, but the sponsor's there for, you know, a few, not just the first, maybe 1, 20, and 50 or something.
But I'd
like
imagine you're talking more phase 1, phase 2. I mean, you're not talking in a phase 3 global. They're not doing that.
No. Phase 1, phase 2.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I completely agree with you. Yeah. I'm talking phase 3, like
late phase, different story.
Late phase, like when I talk about these risk-based approaches, I think that's a very good, important clarification point. And my apologies for not making it clear. I was really referring primarily to phase 3 studies.
Yeah, where there's 200 subjects or 1,000 subjects.
Yeah, thousands, right? Thousands. Yeah, where I'm talking about these.
Or 200 in one site, and 200 in this site, or whatever it is.
You got it. Yeah, I was not referring. I've never seen a risk-based. I've seen risk-based with phase 2B, phase 2A, but I've never phase 1, phase 1B. I've never seen any type of risk-based with that. That would be crazy.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a distinction to be made there. But late phase, prior to, if you're running a parallel study to satisfy safety database requirements prior to an NDA submission, these types of studies are going to be risk-based predominantly.
Well, guys,
it's been
despite Darshan trying to scare me, I have to be at the office at 8 a.m. screening patients. Am I allowed to use my mouth, Darshan, when we screen them?
You are. Just make sure.
Am I allowed to speak?
Just is your mouth HIPAA compliant?
Not always.
I gotta catch myself. But in all seriousness, everyone connect with everyone who came on. All their links are underneath, from Tiffany to Robert to Ashley to Pat to Darshan, except Chris. Chris doesn't have a LinkedIn. That's a problem. He's HIPAA compliant for sure, because he doesn't use the tech.
Hey, listen, just message me and I'll give you his phone number.
Yeah.
You can text him.
There you go.
You can send him a text message without his consent.
There you go.
He's cyber secure.
Chris is the one. Yeah, he's got the last laugh. Like, he's not being.
His LinkedIn is not his because he doesn't have one. He's not going to get sued because his company says this is my LinkedIn.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I will not give you Chris's number, so please don't message me.
No, I will though.
Yeah, that's
fine.
I will do.
Message me, but I don't read my messages unless they're like criticism against Darshan. Then it's fun. Then I'll I'll bring it up on the next live.
I'll be honest, this was a really fun one for me because I get to see like a CRO sponsor site, FDA perspective.
I'll try to have more and more of this, but DJ, I think you play the music. Made back interior, came with sheepskin. Still remember when I just had 3 bands. Now I'm the one everyone call on cause I got deep pants. Bro told me the way to beat the game is on the defense. And never phased by names that they might call me, but they gon' respect.